6:40. Do I have a motion to open tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, tonight's Finance Committee meeting is open. Good evening, everybody. This is the meeting of the Finance Committee. We are meeting tonight. It's March 30th, 2022. This meeting is being video recorded and is also available via Zoom. On tonight's agenda, we're going to be getting a budget update from our town administrator, Mr. Jamie Kelly, and then we're going to go into deliberations where we're going to actually vote on specific budgets that we can vote on. Before we get started, we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, well, Mr. Kelly, whatever your new updates you have for us, fire away.
Mr. Chairman, at last night's Board of Selectmen meeting, the board came to a consensus on a reduction of revenue estimates. The reduction was in the estimate for the motor vehicle excise. It went down to $1,350,000 from $1,500,000. Because of that, and because we have to deliver a balanced budget, the staff today has been looking at various ways to trim the budget. I had a meeting with the superintendent and business manager of the school, showed them the changes, showed them where we're at. They are talking to the school committee budget subcommittee to see if they'll meet and to see if they can find some cuts in their budget. After I left that meeting, I put out of the $150,000 in cuts, additional cuts we need, I put my target at $75,000, hoping that the school will come through with a $75,000 on their side. When we looked at the various budgets, and I'll list after this the budgets we didn't touch that you've already seen, and then I'll talk about the budgets that we did touch. But out of that, in the first round, and there are a couple department heads I was not able to talk to, and I wanted to give them the courtesy of me talking to them before I unilaterally delivered a cut, because they know their programs better than I do. And also the fact I've only been here 7 weeks. I got, for my $75,000 target, I am approximately $6,000 off, $6,000 to $7,000 off right now.
That's where the 81,570
Delta is.
Okay.
Now, that's without any input from the schools on what cuts they will be able to do.
When are they meeting, do you know?
I just delivered it to them in the middle of the day today. And I don't know when, but
Soon.
they were scrambling.
Okay.
So, would you want me to go through the list of what I didn't touch that you have seen and you already have had presentations on as far as the accounts? Or would you rather me just quickly go through the ones I did touch and cut?
Um,
Are you talking about the ones we can vote on tonight?
Well, I assume you could vote on the ones I didn't change. If you wanted to.
Or how about if we did this? How about if, you know, like the first one here is us, the finance committee.
Didn't touch.
Right. So how about if we just,
One by one.
we go one by one, and if you made any changes, then you'll make us aware of it before we take any votes.
Okay.
And we'll have discussion on it before we vote on it. Why don't we do it that way?
Okay.
Okay? So we'll just kind of do this as we go along. I think that might be the best way to do it. Is that, everybody okay with that?
Agree, yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense.
All right, so I'm gonna use, I think we're all gonna use this,
Yep.
this sheet right here. We're at the top right-hand column under Delta, it says 81,571. That's our current deficit right now that we're running. So we're gonna start at the top where it says number 1, where it says FinCom and then Reserve. So in our packet, we'll pick up the appropriate page that goes with that, and we'll bring up any discussion, and then we'll take a vote.
There was no changes for either item in tab 1.
Okay, so the first one we're gonna tackle here is the Finance Committee, our budget, okay? It is, it's level funded from last year at $3,900 for the FY '23 request. Is there any discussion on this budget? Anybody have anything they want to discuss with our budget? Okay,
I'll make a motion.
we have a motion.
Second.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, this budget passes unanimously. So that one's done. The next one is the reserve fund. The FY '23 request is for $150,000. That is level funded with last year's request.
We know how much is in that right now?
No, off the top of my head, right, I'm gonna log in.
I'm just kidding, that's
No,
just
yeah.
curiosity, that's all.
Because you'll be getting some reserve fund transfer requests through in the next month,
Right.
so it'll be good to know.
There was,
One yesterday.
there was one yesterday before the board. And there, we'll probably be looking at the end of the year to use it for some of the deficits. We've got massive overruns, not only in ice and snow, but probably in legal and overtime in public safety.
How massive?
Massive. I can't project now, but legal's already gone.
So, I mean, with what we have left in the reserve fund, are we gonna be able to cover those overruns?
But we'll also be looking to come to the committee with the after May transfers interdepartment and make up some of it there.
Okay.
So in the reserve fund, out of the 150 right now, you have 108,
108?
1079, but yeah, yes,
Okay.
it's that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so do we have a motion on the reserve
Make a
fund?
motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, this budget passes unanimously.
Tab 2, no changes.
Okay, so the next budget is the moderator. Okay, so the FY '23 request is for $875, compared to $825 from last year, so it's up $50.
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Okay, so tab 3,
There are several.
yeah, there's several. The first one I have here is Selectmen in front of me. I don't know if everybody has the same one. Okay. So, the departmental request for FY '23 under the Selectmen's budget is $275,891. In
It was-
comparison to
No change.
FY '22, which was $260,079.
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, aye. Motion passes. The next one I have in this tab is Town Council. The FY '23 departmental request is for $84,500, and that is level funded from last year.
Motion.
Well, I'm sorry, I have a question. Given the fact that we're so short in legal this year, is this a realistic estimate for next year?
We're going out with an RFP, so I would say leave it like this, and because if you raise it, it's public record, and when we go out for the RFP, people are gonna, firms will look at this and base their bid on the budget.
Is the excess though that we're having because of normal issues, like normal town issues, or is it extraordinary? I guess is the question.
I would say that you've got some extraordinary litigation going on, and you've also had an uptick in just normal litigation, appeals, that type of thing. But, yeah, you've got one.
Yeah, so hence,
Financial drain.
right, well, I guess that's the question. So there's the normal budget, right, that would be considered part of the RFP, and then there's the out-of-scope work, which wouldn't be covered by the normal, retainer fees, right?
Correct.
So I guess that's the only thing.
Well, usually you have a retainer that takes care of multiple issues.
Mhm.
Normal town council work. And then if you're going into an appellate level or certain types of litigation, yeah, you'll be on the hourly clock.
And this is a silly question. Whenever there's lawsuits and stuff like that, sometimes they'll go for the legal fees that included. Is that something that happens as part of any of this stuff where they go to court and say, okay, we're suing for this amount and plus the legal fees on top of that?
That would be up to town council, and I'd have to go case by case to look at it.
I wasn't sure if that was.
But, yeah, sometimes you do recoup legal fees.
Okay.
The
If you
issue
win.
is.
Yeah, if you win.
If you win.
So
Yeah.
how would that come back in? Would it go back into this or go back into general fund?
General fund.
Okay. Learning in progress.
Yeah, if we look back to FY '21,
Yeah.
we spent almost $160,000 in legal fees.
Hmm.
We'll surpass that, you think?
We're at 112 right now.
Yeah. So we'll surpass that.
It'll probably be, it could be right about there.
Yeah, so realistically, there's no way to downsize this.
Oh, God, no.
No.
I'm saying up.
Well, if we up it, we have to cut it.
But again, if we're trying to present an accurate budget, right? Like, we can balance this by just taking money
Yeah.
out of expenses, knowing it's not realistic.
But if we present it more accurately and it affects the RFP, then it hurts us in the long run.
Yeah, I guess even if there's like a special line item, normal and then extraordinary or something like that, I get that, but then we gotta realize we're gonna have a $30,000 deficit somewhere.
You also have to remember that we do have some of our legal bills, well, we have the insurance company involved in some of the suits and providing the attorneys, and they might also end up we might go to them for some of the legal bills.
I make a motion to accept.
We have a motion and a do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, this motion passes unanimously. All right, the next budget I have, and that's this tab, is town buildings.
Yep.
And the FY '23 departmental request is for $216,823, which is actually down compared to last year, which was $220,454. 464 rather.
We've had no changes in
No
the-
changes.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. So I must have, what did everybody else have for the next?
Sealer weights and measures.
Street lighting.
All right, I just gotta find that in my thing here. All right, yeah, let's do that. All right, so we'll do sealer weights and measures next.
Realistically level funded for 5 years. I make a
Yeah, the
motion to accept.
FY '23 departmental request is for $1,169.
Yeah.
Level funded, yeah, from last year and the year before.
Motion to accept.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Bob's coming in now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, why don't we, I want to make a motion to take a 5-minute recess.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are currently going to go into a 5-minute recess. Okay, we are back on here. Do I have a motion to reopen tonight's meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are back live. Finance Committee meeting. Tonight we are looking at budgets, making some cuts, and with our snacks, we're cutting some calories too with Ideal Protein. So I had to throw that in there. Sorry, I couldn't resist. All right. We gotta laugh sometimes here, folks, because this stuff gets really hard at times. All right, so next budget is street lighting.
No
Okay.
change.
There's no change. The FY '23 departmental request is $20,000.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
I'm just wondering if we're gonna keep the clocks ahead for the year like they're talking about. Maybe that'll actually help us out in the.
Hey, maybe. We get a little savings that way. So we got a motion and a second. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Next one is miscellaneous.
Change in this.
There was a change, okay, go on.
We changed the compensated balance by $5,000. Correct?
Well, I think they have it as 20 though. I don't know what they
We have it 10.
We're showing you as 10.
Yeah, but that was the original cut, went, but now we're down to
10,000.
$10,000 for compensated balances.
Yep.
And part of the reason, the rationale for doing that is we're creating the stabilization fund to cover it. And we had left money in this account, so in case anything happened between the beginning of the fiscal year and town meeting in the fall, if we had to go to the stabilization fund. But I'm very confident that this will be sufficient. So the new bottom line figure is 21,973.
Yeah, that's what we got. Motion.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Next budget is cable receipts, and that is level funded at $190,000.
How much do we have in that right now?
I'm not ignoring you, I'm pulling it up.
I figured.
It's also in an article, as you know, usually.
We had a bunch
For
of them.
supplies, we haven't touched that this year. In supplies, we still have 96. Operations still 67, so we haven't really touched it.
But it is the PEG.
We only used about 25 grand.
Okay.
So that's a pretty big excess compared to what we normally spend.
Cable operators operate on par, but the supplies are pretty down from last year.
When we close out that money, we just go back to the general, correct?
Make a motion.
We have a motion, is there a second?
What was the motion to do? Accept?
We're voting on the FY '23 departmental request of
No, but just the motion
$190,000.
was to accept as is?
Yes.
I'll second.
And we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
There were changes in tab 4.
Okay, so we're on to tab number 4, which is town accountant.
And even though we cut the longevity, there was an increase in expenses, correct?
Correct.
On Gatsby?
Yes, because I had accidentally, it was my error, I had put the level budget for gap, it should have stayed level budget for gap speed, but I had put it down to 5, so it just needs to go back up to the original 6,500.
So it's a minor increase.
Okay. So the FY '23 departmental request, town accountant, is at $207,567.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Tab 5, no change.
Okay. Tab number 5 is our assessors department. The FY '23 departmental request is set at $180,215 compared to $178,894 from FY '22.
And that was contractual salary increase?
Yes.
What do you mean? Oh,
Yes, because even though we don't have a contract agreed, if they have a step increase, we have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, at this point, I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
We have a
okay.
motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, there is no COLAs on the town budget.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Tab 6 change.
Tab 6, for everybody, there's no number on it, but it's the town treasurer collector.
Oh, gotcha.
So, Mr. Kelly, you want to
Uh,
let us know how it changed?
Yes, there's an offset from golf, is it?
Yes.
Golf, or excuse me, to offset part of the treasurer collector's salary. We hadn't reduced that in the original. We caught it, and so it's a reduction of $4,050.
Okay.
So that will reflect in the golf enterprise.
So the FY '23 departmental request is set at $226,637 compared to $200,016,803 in FY '22.
Make a motion.
Can I have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes unanimously.
Tab 7 is a change.
Okay.
The change is the software maintenance agreement line. Monday, we got a new bill from Munis that increased it by $1,500.
What's,
Technology?
yeah, what's the deal with the replacement for Chris? Is that in here in terms of the budget? In terms of salary? That person's salary? The IT person for the
Yes.
town?
Yes.
It was split with the school?
It's not split with the school now.
Right.
It's split between two town departments, and it's in here,
Okay, is that what that,
14.
okay. Make a motion?
Well, let me just set the request here. So the tab number 7 is Technology Department. The FY '23 departmental request is for $142,100.
A second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. If anyone is opposed to anything, just make it known. Give me a nay if anybody's opposed to anything. We haven't had that happen so far, but in case it does come up.
Tab 8, no changes.
Okay, under tab 8, we have 3 different budgets. The first one I have is town clerk. Everybody have the town clerk one?
Yep.
The FY '23 departmental request is set at $142,777 in comparison to last year, which was $142,206.
Motion to accept.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. The next one I have in that tab is town meeting and elections. The FY '23 departmental request is set at $14,280 compared to $8,500 last year, but the reason we know there's more elections this year, so that's why the budget is up compared to last year.
Mhm.
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, last one, tab 8, Board of Registrars. The FY '23 departmental request is set at $25,054 compared to $17,950. Again, the increase is going to be due to increased number of elections.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next tab, number 9.
No changes.
No changes. Conservation Commission. Excuse me. The FY '23 departmental request is set at $84,525, which is a reduction from last year, which was at $88,265.
Make a motion?
Yeah, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed unanimously. Next tab, number 10, Soil Board. This is level funded
No
with last
change.
year at $2,100.
Motion.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Next tab, number 11.
No change.
Okay, thank you. It's the Planning Board. The FY '23 departmental request is set at $79,300. Increased from last year, which was at $71,560.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed unanimously. Number 12, Board of Appeals.
No change.
Okay, and this budget is level funded as compared to last year at $6,150.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously. Okay, the next tab is police.
I request
Oh, wait.
a hold.
Does that? No, that, is that right?
Yeah.
I have
next tab
police
is
too.
Yeah, police is next.
Oh, okay, all right. All right, so we're gonna hold this budget.
I haven't had a chance to confer with the department head, and I think it's only fair if there are going to be cuts. Especially in public safety, I do not want to affect the program.
You need a
No.
motion to hold it? I'll make a motion for you.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion and a second to hold this budget. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we're holding this budget. We will revisit this next week. Next budget, tab 14, fire and EMS.
Multiple changes.
Okay,
The first change you'll see is a reduction of the salary line for fire chief. When it was originally put in, we were expecting the present fire chief to be through the fiscal year into the next fiscal year before his replacement came in. That's been accelerated, and this is a more realistic figure than recommended by the Board of Selectmen.
okay.
For the replacement fire chief, for the new fire chief?
Yes.
This is gonna be his salary. I'm assuming he's going step.
Well, they'd have to negotiate it, but when you're negotiating, the previous one was up 126,000. The board decided their ceiling was going to be a lot lower. And
When did they vote on that?
the 6th, I believe, it's a special meeting. And they're going to interview the candidates and then vote. They're also going to take up some of these changes at that point. So hopefully we'll be able to have their vote on that before we have to close everything on the 11th.
So they reduced that, it looks like they added a couple things
They
down the
reduced,
line.
they reduced the call firefighters and the part-time EMTs by amounts because the fire chief had included a 2% raise, assuming that the collective bargaining agreements would have been done. And so we backed that money out of that.
Okay. So overall, the FY23 departmental request for fire and EMS is set at $1,077,152 compared to last year when it was $1,074,914.
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed unanimously. Next tab is number 15, our building department. The FY23 departmental request is set at $163,729 compared to $162,820 last year.
No change.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously. Number 16 is our EMA, Emergency Management Agency. The FY23 departmental request is set at $18,649.
There's no change.
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Abstain.
Okay, so we have,
Does anyone remember?
5 in favor, no one's opposed, and 1 abstention.
Like they should vote for them.
Hmm?
Like they should vote for them.
Tab number 17, animal control.
No change.
Okay, and it looks like it's level funded with last year's budget at $56,908.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously. Next tab is forestry.
Change. We originally had put an amount in for tree removal. We've cut it down by 1,500 just because we know that if we need to, we can go access funds elsewhere, and we also, if it's very serious, we had a major emergency, we would be able to access the reserve account, or in case of certain hurricanes, etc., we'd be getting money from the federal and state government. It's not something I would like to do, and if there is more money in the fall, I'd like to restore it, because you've got a number of dangerous trees possible impacting the roadways that are beyond the DPW's ability to deal with.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
So the FY '23 departmental request is set at $17,000 compared to $14,600 from last year.
Motion. And
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously.
I would ask for a hold on tab 19.
Okay, so tab 19,
It's education.
yes, which encompasses Old Colony, Bristol Agricultural, and the Acushnet schools.
Make a motion to hold.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to hold these budgets. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passed unanimously to hold these budgets until most likely next week.
I would ask in tab 20 that you hold DPW highway, but the other two can go forward, there are no
Okay.
changes.
All right, do we have a motion to hold DPW highway?
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second to hold this budget. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're holding the DPW highway budget until next week. The next one I have under tab 20 is snow and ice. That's the FY '23 departmental request is set at $110,000, which is level funded with last year's budget.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
That will be one of the deficits you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Next budget from tab 20 is CMAS.
No change. It's contractual.
Yeah. The FY '23 departmental request is set at $1,187,486.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Passed unanimously. Next tab, number 21, is cemetery.
No change.
This is level funded with last year's budget at $6,789.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously. Next tab, 22, Board of Health.
No change.
The FY '23 departmental request is set at $200,021 compared to $187,603 last year.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously. Next tab is the Council on Aging. The FY '23 departmental request is set at $163,114 in comparison to last year, which was $143,292.
No change.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Okay, so we have 5 in favor, no nays, and 1 abstention. Next tab is Veterans Budget, and that is level funded
No change.
with last year's request at $247,217.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously. Okay, moving right along. Tab 25,
No change.
Library. The FY '23 departmental request is set at $287,779 in comparison to last year's request at $282,133.
Motion.
We have a motion,
Second.
we have a second. Is there any further discussion?
Question, sorry. We made some adjustments to this right from when they presented their budget. Are we still meeting the required minimums so we can
Yes.
continue? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you want to read the letter to the record for the budget I received from the library board of trustees chairperson in regards to the budget, or should that be in the business? Because I had spoken with, basically I'd spoken with Dana today. She just wanted to reiterate that, that she still needs the position to be full-time, and that it was not, the position was not removed from her board or from her. It was at the request of the town administrator.
Okay, well, I mean, I'll read the letter to the committee, and then we'll discuss some of this before we make a final vote. So it says, "Dear members of the Finance Committee, as you know, the library's budget, which was presented, includes a request for $16,557 in salaries to increase the children's room assistant from 19 hours to 35 hours a week, making it a full-time position. It was brought to our attention that Mr. Kelly, interim town administrator, removed this request from the budget that he'll be presenting to the Board of Selectmen. We understand that there are a lot of needs and wants, and this year might not be the time to fulfill this request. However, we want to know that this request is still a need and a want for the library, and we will be presenting this again in the future." And this was presented by Jennifer Alves, the Library Board of Trustees Chair. So that, I mean, that being said, we're facing a $81,000, 571 deficit.
And that's without that position.
That's without adding another $16,000 on top of that, so.
Plus benefits.
Plus, it's a full-time position, which would, accrue benefits.
I'd have to account for 22 plus thousand planning for benefits, because you can't tell whether it would be an individual or a family rate.
Well, I mean, we're going back to the school, so they're gonna have to readjust their budget and make cuts. I mean, they were looking for two positions, one obviously was the school nurse, which I understand,
That's mandatory.
Yeah, if we run in a school without a school nurse, then that's an issue that needs to be addressed.
And a new library.
The other one is the media, assistant library media technician, which I understand, the library and the school system is important. I too spoke with Dina today, but we do have a public library that's open year-round versus school year. The public library also has a children's division, and she's looking for a children's media person as well. And obviously, that salary is much more, much less than the 81,000 that the school is looking at. But that being said, now, I don't know, she said the school's gonna go back and they're gonna have to readjust their budget.
Yeah, they're
as
gonna
well.
have to readjust their budget, and so the board, the committee knows, before the financial changes, they were offered another part-time position, and they refused.
Yeah, as it
So-
was explained to me, she needed for that person to be full-time because I
Yes.
guess she's more she's more dedicated to it, where
And-
she split it off into two part-times.
The reason for the offer of the part-time was obviously,
The health and welfare, the
The
benefit
benefits.
side of the house.
yep,
Well, like I said,
And
I
where-
mean, my position's a little different not only because we are asking the school to readjust their budget and go back and relook at their budget. I'm hoping that the positions that they're looking for, I mean, they're just gonna come up with a bottom figure, of course. Once they get their budget, they do what they want with it. But I do see the need in our public education, our public library,
I do as well.
for a position. It is used heavily, and it is increasingly used now that we're out of this COVID situation. I don't want to tie the hands of the staff at the library, but I don't know. I mean, obviously, this isn't a position supported by the Board of Selectmen, so I guess the only way that this issue would come to hand is if it's brought up on the floor, correct?
Or if the committee wanted to make a recommendation themselves from the floor. But in this situation, I think it's because when you see what I've done further on in this budget, I've actually taken quite a bit of our cushion down in our health insurance account.
Well, in which case, I mean, I'll make a motion that we hold this.
I was just gonna
Yes.
suggest that.
So we get back what the school committee cuts, come back
And
with.
see where we stand afterwards.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
All right, so we're basically making an amendment to the original motion. So Eric is making a motion to hold. We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor to hold the library's budget until next week?
Aye.
Aye.
You're abstaining. Okay, so we.
And make a motion to put that on file for record, I guess. I don't know if we need to do that or not.
I don't know if we necessarily have to do that.
Okay. Never mind, I retract my motion.
All right, so we're gonna hold library. Okay, next tab is 26, Recreation Department. The FY '23 request is set at $23,893 compared
No
to
change.
$20,393 from last year.
Yeah, all that's coming from energy realistically. I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. The next budget in that tab, 26, is the Park Department.
No change.
The FY '23 departmental request is set at $48,667 compared to $40,167 from last year. And that's mainly because they're adding another position, temporary position.
Yeah, this was for extra help in the summer, right? At
Yeah.
the fields.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously. Next tab, 27, Historical Commission.
No change.
It's level funded at $7,000 compared to last year.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously. Next tab, is 28.
No change.
We have, first we have retirement of debt principal. FY '23 departmental request is set at $277,000 compared to $267,000 last year.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passed unanimously. Next one is retirement of debt interest. That FY '23 request is actually decreased. It's set at $113,413 compared to $122,901 last year.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously. Under, let's Okay, next tab is 29. I have pensions first.
There's no change in that, and just so the committee knows, we looked at Medicare, and I'm a little worried about it, but I'll leave it at this figure. Mainly because of the fact it's based on, it's an arithmetic formula based on payroll. And looking at some of the proposed increases, we're close.
You're saying that could significantly?
Not significantly, but
Yeah, salary increases, Medicare goes up by 1.45%.
yeah,
in
so-
Town side.
and the school.
Yeah, meaning for the town, yeah.
Right.
The employer-employee portion.
Yep, and so it's not something I'm more than worried about right now, but I'd have to look at it when town meeting finishes and then see if it's a difference, but it won't be that extreme.
Right.
It's just that you're looking at adding positions in some departments that could total 130,000, I guess. 80 and, what was it, 50?
51,109.
And then the issue with the fact that I have no idea what the collective bargaining raises will be over there, and we haven't even come close to settling here. But it's not something that I'm sure you haven't faced before with the changes.
That would be addressed in next year, the following budget, right, obviously.
Well, it might be something we'd have to adjust in September. But I wanted you to know, we looked at it and then went,
We're tight,
yeah.
very tight. Yeah.
So the FY23 departmental request is set at $1,828,836, which is up by a little over 100,000 compared to last year.
Motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously. Next one under tab 29 is insurance.
Change. I took what I'd be comfortable with in the cushion on the health insurance and decreased it by about 50%. But I'm also looking at the fact that we have health insurance going up by 14.5%, and maybe that will have some people change their health insurance. Because that is a substantial increase for folks.
How many plans does the town offer?
One, well, two.
Two.
An HMO, PPO. But the problem is, you left the pool of Maya where you spread out your risk.
Right.
And you now have hybrid community. And for 7 months, you are at a loss ratio of over 120% or over. And it's coming back to bite you. If you had been in any one of the 5 or 6 larger health plan pools, you probably at the most would have seen an 8% increase. I don't know why, for short-term savings in 1 year, you jumped out of one of the pools.
When was that done? Do you know?
Under Mr. Noble,
It was about 4 years ago.
4 or 5.
Yeah, 4.
Short-term savings, long-term problems. And the rest of the insurance wasn't touched.
And you said you're comfortable with the decrease in the cushion?
I am saying that I am razor thin, but it's still a cushion where you would see potential retirees and then new people come on where they would, instead of being maybe a single plan, it would be a family plan. But I sat with our consultants and we razor thinned. Neither one of us are comfortable, but in this situation, you gotta do what you gotta do.
We really don't have no choice.
Yeah.
Right now. Make a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
That's 1,978,300 we're talking about, right?
Correct.
What's the alternative if this number's wrong, right? We run a deficit and then we have to get money elsewhere. And the elsewhere is reserve.
The one, a number of communities, because of the way the legislature in their wisdom passes the budget, that would be one source, would be the change between the governor's figures and the House and Senate, or the conference committee's figures. Usually, you would go up for a community this size, 75 to 100,000. And about half of that, if we're wrong, would be in that cushion.
I just got a quick question. We seem to run stabilization accounts for everything. Is that something that wouldn't work, or we can't do a stabilization for these health insurance?
You could, that's why that's why I'm proposing one in this year's budget.
Oh, okay, I might have missed that, I'm sorry.
In the warrant articles.
Oh, okay.
I'm proposing 3 new stabilization accounts. One for health insurance changes, one for buyback or compensated balances, and the other one is for MS4 compliance and stormwater, especially with some of the things that,
We're so far behind.
well, I'd say the staff, I'm very proud, the staff has come up to where they need to be. But for example, we're going to have a major construction on the Hamlin Street Bridge. Well, we've got to get in there and do all of the stormwater stuff before that. And part of the stabilization would be to make sure that all of the reports you have to file and everything because of MS4 for that project get done. Because you don't want to do it after the fact.
No.
No. And just tear up the road again.
Or having to undercut the bridge. We are proactively dealing with a number of things along those lines.
Yeah, I definitely agree, stabilization account for this, because of so much variance in.
And especially when we're going out for an RFP, because you do have about 10 to a dozen catastrophic cases that drove the rates up.
Okay, so I believe we had a motion and a second on this budget. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
It's passed unanimously.
I would ask for a hold on the water and sewer enterprise until we have the smoke clear on the new rates. They just arrived today.
All right, so we're holding water and sewer.
I'll make a
Skipping over
motion.
general fund?
And
Well, that's the total.
That's
And
the
you
total.
won't have it until we deal with the other
Gotcha.
accounts.
All right, so, yeah, so there's three sheets.
Give a win.
Yeah. Three sheets. All right, so we're holding, we have a motion to hold.
Motion to hold.
The water
Second.
reserve.
That's tab 30.
Tab 30. Everything in tab 30,
Water and sewer.
yeah, we're holding. So we have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next is golf, I believe. So we have a golf, the golf reserve fund is level funded at 100,000 compared to last year.
Motion.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously. Next is the Golf Enterprise Fund. That is,
Mr. Chairman, the board last night approved a rate increase of $3.
for the fees, the golf fees.
Call fees, yeah.
Mhm.
Because as it was, they were operating at a big deficit with this fee structure they had in place.
They must have listened to Pete.
No?
They took Pete's advice. So, see that?
Eat healthy.
Huh?
And walk.
There you go,
I want everybody to play a lot of golf this year.
exactly.
All right, so the Golf Enterprise Fund, FY '23 departmental request is set at $1,269,502 compared to last year, $1,066,570.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Did we get a vote on the reserve fund?
We did.
We did. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yep. I would like to note that our Golf Enterprise Fund, these fees are, this department is basically funded by user fees. So taxation does not come into play with this department. So our residents are not funding this. Anybody who plays golf is funding this budget.
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously. Golf debt service. The FY '23 departmental request is at $1,710,002, and that's compared to $1,505,470. So this is basically what we have left to pay on the golf course, correct? Which is about, what, 4.5, 5 years approximately?
2007, I think it was 2007.
27?
27, yeah.
27? All right, so approximately 5 years left on the note.
We'll bring that.
So once it's paid off, we own it, and that's gonna be a good thing.
Very good thing. It's a
Yep.
great asset.
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We did refinance that loan a few years back. It's nice how things go smoothly when we go into detail a little bit by little bit.
So under We have two, I believe everybody has 2 sheets left, right? Or 2 tabs left here. So there's one under our general fund, and then there's a total general fund / water, sewer / golf budgets.
You're not gonna be able to deal with
So we're not
those
doing anything with these 2 here.
until we take care of the health
Okay.
items.
Okay, so we've gone through the majority of the budgets. We held a few that we'll revisit next week. Hopefully next week.
Mr. Chairman, if I could request a brief recess, I'm going to pass out a real preliminary draft of the warrant,
Okay.
and then I can walk you folks through that, and you can see the plan.
How long of a recess you think we need?
Enough for me to pass out 4 or 5 files to you folks.
All right, why don't we take, in case anybody has to go to the bathroom, why don't we take, everybody okay with like a 10-minute recess?
Motion to recess? Yep.
All right, so we have motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Nick, we're going into recess for about 10 minutes.
Jean, you know.
Okay, folks, do I have a motion to reopen our meeting?
Motion to reopen, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Finance Committee meeting is out of recess, and we will continue with the agenda tonight. We voted on all the budgets that we could vote on. We held some for next week, or possibly the week after, if we have that much time. I'm not 100% sure on that. Mr. Kelly has provided us with an index of all the town articles, and if you want to provide us with some insight on this.
Okay, this is a very preliminary draft of the articles on the warrant. I typed it, so it's got some space in between articles that probably shouldn't be there and other things, but I was doing it quickly. There's also in the packet article concerning stormwater management bylaw, and then there's a soil conservation article that was a citizen's petition. You can see from the index how I set up the warrant. And it's just the way I set it up. There's no moderator yet. So what I did was I put the typical Article 1, accept town reports, 2, the snow and ice deficit for the current year, 3, past years' bills, and then I put what I consider in most towns the consent agenda, which you could, those are all the articles that show up every year. They're housekeeping articles. You could take one vote and pass all of the articles. And then I set up a separate section for the stabilization fund articles. And as you, I put money into the various articles just to put money in, but we don't know the free cash yet. And so I'm hoping we'll get that very shortly. DOR said by the end of the week.
Yeah, I'm keeping in touch with them.
But in that, I established a health insurance, a stabilization fund, a compensated absence or buyback stabilization fund, the MS4 stormwater system fund, the general stabilization fund, the capital expense stabilization fund. You have both of them already, and you have an OPEB trust fund. You're getting to the beginning of the maximum amount in your general stabilization account.
So we want to start spreading that out to different,
Yes.
I know you discussed that a couple weeks ago.
And it's
Yep.
smart because when they look at the bond rating houses, they look at the general stabilization account. They can consider that an unrestricted account. But when you have the health insurance or the stormwater MS4, they consider that a restricted account. And so it doesn't ding you if you've spread it around. Just a note, I've been going to a number of meetings on the ARPA funds. We can't put them in the stabilization funds. It's against the rule. And originally, we thought we might be able to use some of it for OPEB. That is against the final rule.
So what can we use those funds for?
There is 4 categories, but what really applies to this town is 2. One is a general category that has a provision in the rules that say that if you take an allowance, which is kind of like the standard deduction in tax
Taxes.
return, you can do the general allowance for $10 million. Well, that's nowhere near what this town gets from ARPA funds. The advantage is you have to itemize everything else, and it's all under federal rules and federal procurement rules. So a number of services that we would be using, for example, engineering, design services, we would, under the federal rules, we're going to have to go out on procurement on. And we'd have to itemize everything. Well, under the general, we get a little bit, we still have to go out procurement, but the reporting is a lot less onerous. And then the other thing that for this town that it's really important is water, sewer, and broadband. And you've got just short of $3 million.
Okay.
And we have to have all the contracts in place by 2024 and all the shovels in and out of the ground by 2026.
So we get roughly 3 million to use, presumably, almost like infrastructure type. And the plan for us would be sewer or water lines or something?
Slocum Street.
Slocum Street is one. You also have to look at, there's a tip project going from Main Street to the Fairhaven line that on South Main Street that the Mass DOT's doing. TIP is a transportation improvement project. Well, if they're going to do all of the stormwater, the street, sidewalks, etc., the town's responsibility is the sewer and water down that stretch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The nice thing is you can piggyback Chapter 90 funds with
Okay.
the ARPA funds. However, and you can even use ARPA funds as the town's matching funds for state grants. You can't use it for federal grants or federal pass-through money.
So we have the plan in place, right? Because the last thing we want to do is not be able to.
Oh, I put together a infrastructure advisory committee composed of the stormwater agent, the DPW director, myself, and the town planner. We've gone through Representative Schmid for an earmark in the state budget of $25,000 to $35,000. That will help us take care of updating the master plan, which is out of date. Once your master plan's updated, then you get through that threshold and can apply for grants.
When's the project gonna start for South Main Street?
I was involved in a TIP project in Millbury that I was involved in the engineering and the beginning planning stage. When I left and the person who replaced me was just starting to deal with the easements, and that was in the 6th year of the
So
project.
not anytime soon.
Probably 3 to 5 years.
Okay, so it's not related to the train or any of that business?
No, we're also have Serpent doing traffic impact studies for us on the Church Street train station. So that would be the stabilization funds.
Mhm.
And I'd advise that you do those fairly quickly before you get to the budget, because you're gonna know exactly what you can put into them, especially with the limited ability to put into the general stabilization fund. And you're just starting the others.
With this new gas station facility up yet, is there any plans on putting street lights and stoplights in that area?
We've,
Curious.
well,
You know, a lot of people get upset about that one. They can't even stop at the stop sign, they keep going straight through it.
Before we get to that, we just dealt with it this week. We're gonna put no parking signs along Main Street, both sides, and up the other street, up to, I think it's James, is it?
Yep.
James.
James Street, up, yeah, Wing Lane.
Because if you notice, when those type of things go in, and they have the 90-cent coffee and the donuts, all of a sudden you have a bunch of trucks idling in the street as they run in, and it's a traffic accident waiting to happen.
That's right, we have that right over here on Main Street now. You have to travel there in the morning.
And before you would even look at stoplights here, because you do have to do a traffic study for that, I'm going to be talking to the DPW director, because just last night I saw so many people blow through the stop sign coming down Main Street here, because in the dark you can't see it. Maybe you get one of those stop signs that's got a couple lights going around
Not
it.
in the budget.
I came up,
It's solar.
Doesn't
I
work at
came up
night.
Main Street one time, and this guy, it's like 10 o'clock at night, this guy comes flying down up South Main Street, doesn't even stop, like 40 miles an hour, cuts around the corner, goes up on the sidewalk and keeps going. And I'm like,
Well, he's got other
How
issues.
many times they hit that sign over there?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm glad he missed the sign.
They should put one up with Velcros or something.
Anyway, so those are the stabilizations we're looking at. The language of setting it up, I've already drafted, it's in your packet. Then you get to the budget for the new appropriation articles, the golf enterprise fund, the sewer enterprise fund. I've left a placeholder for CPA general reserve article if there is one coming out of the CPC. Then your capital article, and I've lumped all the capital requests in one article, but it's A, B, C, D, E. Someone wants to put a hold on a particular one, they can, but that could take care of a number of them. I've talked to the fire chief about the breathing apparatuses. He's going for a grant. Otherwise, it could be the ambulance receipt account. We're excuse me. We're also looking at if there is some other available funding. Now, and then there's a software for the assessors. The Capital Golf Enterprise Fund is looking for something from CPC, but I don't know if the CPC's met on that yet. Some of these are placeholders. The Elder Services is the Senior Work-Off Program. That's 20,000. The Mullen Rule allows for folks that miss one session in an adjudicatory hearing, like let's say the planning board has 3 sessions on one permit, but someone misses one, as long as they watch the tape, read the information that's been brought in, etc., they're allowed to vote under the Mullen Rule, but the town has to accept the statute. Zoning amendment is the solar moratorium, and there's a zoning amendment to do away with a 2-lot stick out from on Bradford Street from the zoning map. There's maps and everything inside the packet. There's a stormwater bylaw amendment from this stormwater agent that is just a total delete and insert. He will be providing explanation. I couldn't hope to do it myself. And then there's the citizen petition.
What is that all about, do we know?
It's on a soil issue.
Oh, okay.
A fair amount of these are not really fiscal, budgetary
Nope.
articles.
But you people should know about it.
Sure, absolutely.
And for example, the Mullen Rule is an advantageous thing for all committees that hold public hearings. The consent agenda is the thing you see every year.
Right.
And the stabilization starts to, all those accounts are something that now you're in such a good financial position with your bank account. Now, in effect, you can create a couple Christmas club accounts.
Question for you real quickly. Does the Board of Selectmen have any plans of requesting any surplus overlay from the assessors?
Not at this point.
No?
The problem is, there's a couple appeals pending that the courts are waiting for the general appeal, waiting for the legislature to act, and so far the legislature has ducked it. That could end up,
Affect that.
yeah, could end up having 3, 4, 500,000
Really?
in impact in abatements.
Thank you.
So next, we'll have,
Hopefully, you'll have all the town, and hopefully we'll have an answer from the superintendent.
so we'll be able to vote on all these next week,
Yeah.
okay? All right, so that's,
We would have had sewer and water, except we got it today, and it was a little much
Time to
the
digest.
math to do.
all right.
And we'll forward to you any one that we're able to deal with as soon as we talk to the people, or talk to Dan on the sewer and water.
And that request by the police department for the electronic fingerprint machine, is that gonna come up for our agenda for next week to vote on that?
Probably.
It will, okay.
Electronic fingerprint.
Yeah.
Lisa will let you know right when it's approved. She'll send you-
It's been approved, I believe it was approved last night.
Okay, because it was on the agenda, okay.
I thought they already had that.
That was a different one that was approved.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's another one coming again.
They do have an electronic fingerprint machine, because I have my license to carry, and they,
Yes, I had went through that process a couple of years ago, and, but they would have issues. It didn't, it
Doesn't
wasn't,
read it right.
yeah, it was a hard time sometimes getting every finger. It was,
Yeah.
It's also
consuming.
the location. If there are people in custody,
yeah,
With
because
the
it's right
one
next to
they
the
have
holding
now.
cell.
They can't move that?
No,
well,
it's stationary.
Yeah, it
they
needs
need
built
to
in.
move, they need to have another location,
Yeah.
especially with the amount of business all police stations are doing now with LTCs.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Well, I think that's why they're requesting it, because there's a lot more requests coming in.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
It's statewide.
I'm glad I did mine when I did.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Anything else? Okay. So,
You see what we've been
We got
doing the
enough
last
stuff.
couple days.
yeah, you've
Looks like
done a
you're
lot.
taking some time off.
You've done a lot of work.
No, I've been accused of staying here nights.
Well, I think you're doing a good job, so. Everything's really organized and detailed, so it helps us.
Extremely helpful.
For sure.
It's going to be a difficult time to get through this year and next year because everyone thought COVID was difficult, but you knew what was happening then. You don't know what the state's
Well,
doing.
coming out of it, it's
Yeah.
gonna be just as challenging.
But you don't know what the state's doing. You've got a lot of expenses coming in, and you've got,
Limited revenue.
and where people, a number of people thought that the ARPA money was going to go for certain things. No, I mean, premium pay, well, it's premium pay for people who are at 150% below the poverty level. And they look at annual salaries when they determine that. Well, police and fire are not going to be eligible because they look at their salary not as their base salary, but as what they take home under the federal rules for ARPA. So detail work and everything counts. It's what the newspapers or the media reports and what actually comes out in the rules are a lot different.
And that's especially true of mainstream media.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next on the agenda, we have some minutes to approve from the meeting of February 16th, 2022. In attendance was myself, Pete Benoit, Sue Delgado, attending remotely, Eric Chu, Bob Ferrera, and Eric McGlynn.
Motion to accept?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved. Next on the agenda would be any old business that anybody would have to discuss. Okay, no old business. Under new business, Melissa, did you have something you wanted to bring up?
As many of, well, some of you may know, the town lost a amazing woman, employee, but part of the finance department. She lost her battle, last year, and we thought it would be nice to, build a bench to remember her. And we, the building inspector, Mr. Mara, was amazing enough to build one himself. And I ordered a plaque that will be coming in. And her birthday is coming up on April 16th, so we thought it would be nice to celebrate her and remember her on that day. So Saturday, April 16th at 10 a.m., we're gonna have a little dedication, and anybody's welcome that would like to come and just
Where?
celebrate.
Where will
The bench will be located on the grass between the parting ways and town building. And the fire chief Gallagher, he's an amazing speaker, and he knew her well also, so we chose him to be the speaker. But anyone that would like to come and say any words or just be present, her family and friends will be there also. So anyone is welcome to join us.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that.
Are you going to be at another meeting?
April 16th?
Here.
Oh, I don't know.
No, are you, or is this your last?
It depends. I mean, I will keep coming.
I think we'll need her here next week.
Okay.
No, I just meant, I didn't know if, with vacation time and everything.
Oh, I'm here next week still, yes.
Okay. All right, so going back to that, so next meeting is gonna be next week here. Do we wanna do 6:30 again like we did tonight, or do you wanna go back to 7 o'clock?
Well, it shouldn't be that bad, right? It shouldn't be long.
I don't think we're gonna have, I think we'll get through whatever we're gonna need to quicker than we
We
did.
did most of the meeting.
I think we got most of it done tonight,
Mhm.
so.
7 o'clock, I think, is fine.
All right, so 7 o'clock.
So we get Bob here.
Yeah, I don't want to be late again.
He'll show up at 6:30.
It'll be early.
I'll be early.
Just a
Somebody bring
reminder,
some
I am
food.
not available next week at all, so we'll make sure we have enough for a quorum.
So you need to be here on time.
So, yeah, so you'll probably be remote.
I will have to be remote.
All right, so provided Sue's remote, then, and nothing unforeseen happens to
Anyone else?
here, then we'll have a quorum next week. So we can hopefully wrap everything up next week and put this budget to rest. And it's been a long,
Is there some wood
Long
around to
season.
knock?
motion to adjourn. It's been a long, oh, we got a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, this meeting is adjourned.
Good night.
Aye.